about whether they should continue with the touchscreens or move to the paper ballot system. And it was just so thoughtful of them to leave that tie vote to me to break. And so I knew that this board was capable and able to do this, and they certainly proved that in the March election, and I think they're going to make you very proud in the November election. Now, our voting system in the state it's built into the statute that there is an inherent tension between the two parties, and we use that as a means to have checks and balances on one another. But as long as the Secretary of State belongs to one party or another, there will always be someone questioning his or her motivations. I bring my judicial experience to this office with me, and I attempt to deal with things like tie votes from the point of my judicial experience. We know that voters look at voting as a very personal experience. They're sensitive to what their individual voting experience is, and every time you talk to them, the first thing you'll hear is, well, this is how I was treated, this is what happened to me. And at the same time, we as a state are really sensitive to the reputation that we got in 2004, deserved or not. And so I ran for Secretary of State because I wanted to improve voter confidence, and I certainly wanted to improve the reputation of the state that I have lived in all my life and that I love. So what I've tried to do as Secretary of State is the same thing I did as a judge. When I had a trial, especially a trial where I had jurors who were going to be making decisions about individual people's lives or about their community, I did everything I could to provide those jurors with the tools and the resources they needed to do the very best job in making that decision, because overall it affected our community. I look at the voters the same way. My job as Secretary of State is to serve almost as an alter ego for the voters, to think about, okay, if we have these laws, how will we implement them in such a way that we're not going to create difficulty for voters, that we're going to make it easier for them, and that we can give them the best tools and resources possible to make the best decisions for our community, because each person who votes is registering their voice in what they want to see for their community in terms of their leaders or the issues that are being voted on that particular election day. So I will tell you unequivocally that, again, my efforts are not focused on my party or my reelection or any other affiliation, but it's really on making Ohio's election system the very best that it can be, because I love public service, and this is what we do best in an election system if we serve people for the greater good. So I have really enjoyed getting lawsuit after lawsuit in the past few weeks. I think I have a record being sued 7 times in about 3 weeks. But we get these things over quickly, and that's the goal, so that it's not interfering with the election process. And you know, once in a while the legislature will slip something in a bill, and they don't really talk to us about it, and then we have to make the best of it. So what we really try to do is to sort of integrate and smoothly implement a very sometimes uncoordinated patchwork of election laws that sometimes can be vaguely written, other times it seems like they might be written to benefit one side or another, and you know, we just try to even it out for the voters. Again, you heard Bill use the words free, fair, open, and honest, and we really keep that first and foremost in mind. Now, you heard a little bit about foreclosures, and we had heard that perhaps foreclosures were going to be used as data to challenge voters. So we thought, let's just get ahead of it here in Ohio, and we'll at least explain to boards of elections that just because somebody might be the subject of a foreclosure doesn't really mean that they shouldn't be able to vote. They might still be living in the same residence that appears in the Board of Elections records. So we clarified for boards, this is what you need to look at if there's a challenge, and if it's a challenge just for the reason that someone's name is on a foreclosure list or their residence where they live is on a foreclosure list, it doesn't really mean that they don't live there. You've really got to look into what the situation is. You probably heard about this term called sleepovers, but I wasn't really supposed to use it. I promised, well, I already did. So I was listening to a nationally syndicated radio program while I was driving in my car one Saturday several months ago, and it was a show called What Do You Know? And they were ridiculing Ohio for sleepovers. There was a game show. They're asking, do they have sleepovers in Ohio? And the woman said, I don't even know what that is. And so when I heard that, I said, all right, this is already on our radar. We've got to do something about it. And we did. And the boards of elections, there were about 23 counties that at least fessed up ahead of time that that's what they were doing, giving voting machines to poll workers to take home over the weekend, and then they would bring them into the polling location on that Tuesday. Yeah, so you can close your jaws. So we said, we know that change can be hard, so we said, well, what we'd better do is let's give them some suggestions, tell them you really can't do this anymore because this is all part of our security planning. And we're making that transition, and we provided some federal money for those counties to do that, and it's going to be fine. If you think about it, it's a little bit of a holdover from the punch card days, because you could safely give the punch cards, which were generic, to the poll workers to take home and bring into the polling location. And so I think some counties just said, well, the punch cards are inside the machine, so they can just take the whole machine. So we're doing things like that to clear things up for Ohio, because that really does not put us in a very good light nationally. So what we've tried to do with some of the changes we've made, we've been very cognizant, from my background in county government and small business, that change doesn't come without a price. So 82% of the changes we've asked for, we have funded with reimbursement. I'm sorry to say that I was not able to fight hard enough and long enough to allow for the funding of the new equipment that you're using in Cuyahoga County, but you're very fortunate that your commissioners were willing to step up and do the right thing for the voters of this county. But the 82%, it amounts to about 3 cents per voter. So, and we've had federal money to do that, so we think that has helped ease some of those changes. As I said before, the Board of Elections is doing a good job. I have every confidence that they'll do a good job for you this fall. 3 things voters care about: am I registered, where do I vote, and what's on the ballot. So I invite you to take a look at our website. You'll be able to find about 6 tiles on the front of the website that are going to give you answers to those questions immediately when you pull up the website, which, by the way, is sos.state.oh.us. You can find out if you're in the voter registration database, and if you don't see your name in there yet, don't give up, because it's put in at the county, it comes up to our office electronically, and it should be appearing in there if you know you registered within the next couple weeks. There's a polling place locator that will actually give you driving directions on how to get from your home to the polling place. You can see a PDF image of the statewide ballot. It will not drill down all the way to the local issues. We're not developed to that point in 21 months yet. There's also a judicial voter guide so that you can pick your county and you can see bios, pictures, personal statements of the judges who are running in your county, and that way you'll kind of have an apples-to-apples comparison. This is the first time we've done this, and we'd like in the future to extend that to all candidates, but this is a good first effort. We also have something called Avoid the Line, which is a web resource that allows you to pull up an absentee ballot application, populate it, and then print it out as a PDF and mail it in. And if you have an organization that would like to add that to your website, you can actually grab it off of our website and bring that same functionality to your own website. And then we have a map of the state of Ohio that will show you your early voting locations, where they're located, the hours of office, and a separate map that will show, especially first-time voters, a video of how the voting system in your county works. Some of them have pretty funky music in the background, but we didn't pick that out. Then you also have a chance, if you want to share your voting experience, you can log in and tell us how it was, even on early voting. Ohio is the first state out of 15 who've signed up so far to participate with Google, so that even just going through Google, you'll be able to put in your address and your name and find out if you're registered to vote, where your polling place is, and you don't even have to go to my website to do it. It's data that we stream out to Google, and that Google then is able to put in its website and provide to anyone who wants to know about their status in Ohio. I know I'm running short on, am I running short on time, Jim, a little bit? One quick thing. The thing that's been, I think, the biggest controversy this election is this concept of overlap voting. Because the voter registration deadline occurs after the period when absentee voting starts.